Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and do you want to enhance the security of your car while you're driving or even parked? Blackvue is the great way to do it, and I'll show you how. All right, so let's talk about this a little bit and the reasons why you may want to do this yourself. I know I certainly do. Now, dash cams are becoming more and more of a must-have necessity, and it isn't just about catching that great day at the track or something similar. But I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of crazy dash cams lately with people acting really, really badly and then try to blame you. Now, if you have the DR970 from Blackvue with the two channels that has both a front view and rear view, it's gonna be a lot harder for someone else to say it was your fault if something bad happens. Now, I'm gonna walk you through this whole install. Now, I also have their Magic battery set up as well, because I want this whole system to operate while I'm out of the car as well, and this is a great way to do it. Now, when you unpack the system, and I'll show you what it looks like all laid out, it's all really logical when you see it, but when you first unpack it, you're like, that's a lot of cables and a lot of setup. It's really not that hard, and I'm gonna walk you through every single step. Now, I have all the pieces laid out, and let me show you what that looks like, and I'm gonna walk you through a piece at a time here in my BMW M2. Now, you may want to install a little bit differently. You may want to put in different locations if you have a different car, right? But I'm gonna install everything in the trunk and hardwire it off my fuse block that I've got in the trunk. So it's gonna go from the fuses to the battery to the camera. So it will have power, it won't have to sit in my lighter socket or anything else obvious like that, and everything's gonna be nice and remote and secure and really hard to get to if something does happen and someone tries to steal my cameras. All right, so let me walk you through all the components so all of this makes sense. Let's get started. All right, so I've already pulled the backboard out of my trunk, which is what this is all sitting on, because I want to kind of lay it out in a sequential order of how all of this plugs together. Because when you first open out all the boxes, you're like, man, that's a lot of wires and cables and who knows where it all goes. And this is where I want to help you make this really, really simple. Now, we're going to tap into an accessory 12-volt accessory fuse here in the trunk. So we're going to be using the fuse tap here, which then ties into the accessory power, which goes to the battery, plugs in the battery. The battery is then going to plug in to the main control box for the cameras here, which I have the cover off. It has a little key on it. You can see where power goes, your front and rear cameras, your USB for the antenna, which we'll deal with in just a second. Now, Blackvue is fantastic. They include a memory card. They even include a plastic trim tool, which we'll be using off and on, and an Allen wrench that you use to adjust your angles on those front cameras. Then you have your antenna run, your two cable runs for your cameras, and then the front and rear camera. So all really simple and all really logical once you just lay it out. So you may install, like I said, you may choose to install this differently. If you're not installing into a similar car, your accessory fuse position is going to be a little bit different than mine. But I will walk you through this whole process, and you can see how you can easily use this instruction for pretty much any car to lay it out. So the very first thing we're going to do is actually take a look at our fuse block and see which one of our fuses we're going to use to tap for power. All right, so looking here in the trunk, I've already pulled my backboard as I mentioned, and we're going to be taking off this side carpet as well, and I'll show you how to pull that out because that's going to make running those cable runs easier. Plus, I'm going to put the battery pack back here behind the carpet. I'm going to put the control box here in the battery well. But I'm going to walk you through that whole process. Now, in addition, I've pulled the door here to get to my fuse block. Now, every car is going to be a little bit different. What you're looking for is 12 volt switched, which is usually an accessory, right? Not 12 volt constant. You don't want this draining your battery. You only want it pulling from your battery while your car is running, which means while it's on. Now, in my case, it's this fuse right here, this yellow 20, so that's the one we're going to be pulling here in a few minutes. But the first thing we're going to do is pull all the carpet. Now, to get the side carpet out, it's a bunch of these expanding rivets. There's one right here. This is actually twist off. There's an expanding rivet up here in the top. And then right back there, you have a Torx bolt. This is a T40 to get that bolt out. And then you can feed all the carpet out. Now, if you have to, you can pull this back plastic. There's a series 1, 2, 3, 4 expanding rivets here. This pops up, and then the carpet will come out. So let me get up the carpet all out, and I'll show you what that looks like, because that's going to make running the runs for the antenna and the cameras much easier. So you can tell the carpet's pulled back. I actually am not going to release it up on that front edge. That just complicates things a little bit. It's easy just to swing this out once you have those expanding rivets out. And I also took this base plate out as well. Now, you will have to take your safety handle out here on this side. There's a little wire pull right here that you can see with this metal tab. You just push the center retaining tab back, and then you can pull that little metal attachment off of the safety handle and set it aside for now. Now, as far as the fuse box is concerned, you can see I've got lots of space for the battery pack down here. I'm going to slot it down here in here nicely, and I'm going to stick it down to this existing box. I'm also going to use a different fuse. I'm going to use 271 right here, which I've pulled out, because what I want to show you is how you connect these all together. So you're going to want to take an existing 20 amp fuse, because there's 2 slots in this plug. You take out the existing one, which is kind of the solid yellow, and a new 20 amp fuse right there. So they all jump in together, and then you slot this right back in the exact same place right there. Just like that, nice and easy. So then this will tap into the power that you have for the battery pack. This will go into the positive line there, and then this will attach to a ground. In this case, we've got a body ground right here. So all I'm going to do is just back this nut off and attach my ground right there. So let's get this connected and that connected, and we're going to keep moving on. All right, so the ground wire is on right here. As you can tell, I've plugged in the fuse into the correct accessory fuse right there. That's all set. And this is up and out of the way. And I'm going to tuck all this cabling down in here once I plug it into the battery. Now, the battery only plugs into one place right here. I've attached the Velcro strips that Blackvue provides, because I'm going to slot it down and sit it right here with the plugs on this side. I've also grabbed the accessory wire, or the power wire, that's going to go over to the control box, because I'm going to plug that in as well. So everything will be plugged in here and done really, really easily. I'm going to run that wire up and over down into the battery space here, and I'm going to stick the control box here on the side once we run all the other cables. But this is almost ready to go, and then we're going to start running the cables for the camera. All right, so the one thing we are going to have to do that's a little bit different is we're going to have to connect these 2 wires. So you've got the run from your battery pack right here that you can see, yellow, red, and black. But then you've got the accessory power line from the 970 control box. And as you can see, red, yellow, and black, which is ground, which has a spade on it right here. And we're going to connect these together. So I'm going to cut the spade off right here. And I've got a little electric crimping tool. I've got 3 small butt connectors that I'm going to connect all these in together. So what you have to do is just strip a little bit of the end off of each of these coming from the battery pack, slide them into the butt connectors right here, red to red, yellow to yellow, black to black, connect them all together, squeeze very gently with your tool to get them to connect back together really nicely. And then this will be all connected and ready to go for the 970 control box. I wanted to show you what it looks like when it's all connected, as you can tell right here. So what I'll usually do, and these are 18 to 22 gauge butt connectors. I usually, once I get them squished, I'll give them a gentle tug on both sides to make sure that the cables are insecure. Everything is matched, yellow to yellow, red to red, black to black. So all of our connections for the battery pack is now ready to go for the control box that we're going to install down here. Now, what we're going to do now is actually look to run the cabling, because we don't want to secure any of this back here until we get all the cable runs done. So let's go ahead and jump up in the front of the car, and we're going to start with the forward-facing camera. All right, so my forward-facing camera, I'm going to install on this side of my mirror, the passenger side, so it's out of my direct line of sight while I'm driving. I'm going to put it up really nice and high right here, and I'm also going to put it angled so the lens is below the textured marks in the windshield that might obscure the view just ever so slightly. So I'm going to be putting it basically right here. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we've got enough cabling to reach that spot. And then now, in almost all cases, your roof liner is really easy just to gap down. You can use a plastic trim tool and just slowly push the cable up into your roof liner here. Now, if you've got a A-pillar airbag like this car does, you don't want to come down anywhere in here, because that's where the airbag deploys. What you're going to want to do is slide the cable between here and then down the door jamb in between the weather stripping and the trim itself, all the way down to the door jamb until we get down to this low part here. We're going to walk it down the door frame. Okay, so let me get that partially installed to show you what it looks like. It is really, really simple just to tuck in with a plastic trim tool and tuck the cabling in, and then make sure that you put the proper end. The cameras are the straight plug. The bent plug goes back to the control box back in the back. So let me get this run down this pillar and I'll show you what that looks like. So here it is with enough cable still left in place. It's still tucked up into the ceiling liner here. Come down around this corner, tuck it back behind that trim, tuck it down behind, because you want a nice clean install so it looks really good. And then when you peel this back, I always try to get it around the corner right there so it actually will fit partially behind this cover as you come all the way down. Feed it all the way down in through your trim, through the door frame and underneath. Now we're going to get underneath the door trim here in just a second so we can get a nice clean run all the way back to the trunk. So pulling your door trim is really easy. There's a little pin up here at the top so you get your fingers between this upper section and the door trim piece itself. Pop that edge out and then just gently pull up. And you've got a whole series of clips that are underneath. Now what will usually happen, and you'll see them left behind, these white clips get left behind, and we'll just take those out with a pair of pliers and put them back onto the bottom of the trim once we're done. So go ahead and run your cable run down underneath the carpet, down underneath this carpet edge and into the back seat, and then we're going to route it into the trunk. All right, so back here in the back seat, you can see the cable run that's come down and is out the side here right for the moment, right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to lay it down in between the seat around the back of the bolster, and you can now see where the carpet for the trunk is gapping, and we're going to put the end right through there. So you could always take this bolster off. I find that the big clip right here that holds it in place sometimes can be spectacularly stiff. There's also a T20 right here that helps hold it in place. So if you want, you can pull the bolster off, but I think it's just as easy to reach your hand back behind and you can get enough space right here to feed the plug through and feed it through without taking it apart. Same thing, you can always take your seat base off, which is really simple. You just pull up on your seat base and it'll come off. If you have to, you can always pop one side to help feed the cable in between the frame and the seat base to feed it through. Okay, but go ahead and take the end, which is right here, feed it around the bolster and back into the trunk. Then we're going to also take this opportunity while we're here to run the same cable for the backup camera, which is going to be back here. It's going to run down this side, down the side, and into the back as well. All right, so we're going to take this opportunity and run the cable from the back camera as well. I'm going to mount it right here beside my rear third light here on the passenger side. I'm going to have the straight plug, a little bit of pigtail of it hanging out right here. I'm going to tuck it up into the roof liner across this side, down, avoiding the airbag here on this side, down this side of the trim, back behind the bolster, and back into the trunk. So go ahead and get that camera run done as well. All right, so you don't want to forget to install your GPS antenna. I'm going to install it here in the back. I'm going to stick the antenna right here in the very corner of the glass where it's going to be difficult to be seen, and run it down following the exact same path as my wiring run into the trunk. Okay, so make sure to get that done. Then everything will be back in the trunk and we'll be ready to start plugging it all in. So all three of our cable runs, the two camera and the GPS run, are all now here back in the back, as you can see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to secure this in the battery well right here like this. So what I'm going to do is plug everything in first: front camera, rear camera, power in, and the USB for the GPS antenna. And once that's all on, you can lock the cover back in place. It comes with a sticky pad underneath that I'm going to stick right here, and it should be nice and secure and ready to go. Make sure to don't forget to insert the SD card right there. That would be a bummer to forget it. And then in addition, don't forget to turn your battery pack on. It has an on and off switch, so make sure to turn that on while you're here as well. So go ahead and get this all plugged in. I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. Then we're going to go hang our cameras, and then we're going to put our car back together. All right, you can see I've got all the cables through the cover. Don't have it locked in place yet, but all the cables are in. I made sure that the front camera's in the right place. I could tell which cable that was because it's a lot shorter, because it comes all the way from the front of the car. So GPS antenna, front camera, back camera, power. I'm going to snap this cover back into place, and then I'm going to peel the adhesive and I'm going to stick it to my battery well right there, excuse me. And then I'm going to make sure that I've got a nice clean install. I've got most of the cable length all zip tied together. I want this to be nice, neat, and clean as I put it in, so get that all set. So once you get that all done, we're going to go hang the front and back cameras now. All right, so attaching the camera is really simple. There's a little Allen screw right there that you're going to want to take all the way off to be able to get this end cap off to put the plug in. Plug it in, then put the cap back on, and then put that screw back in. Now that screw is also what's going to lock the camera angle. So right now I don't have any of the covers off because I know I'm going to get my fingers all over it. I've got a little bit of the wire coming down out of the sealing liner, which is fine because I'm just going to tuck it back in once I'm done. So you've got 3M adhesive right here. So you're going to set it up. I want to get as high as I possibly can, plus as hidden behind the mirror as I possibly can without the camera itself being obscured. So I'm going to run it right up to the edge of the dots in my windshield, basically right here. going to peel it off and stick it in, and then I'm going to tuck the camera cable back up into the ceiling liner really nicely. All right, so go ahead and get that done. Now keep in mind, if you powered the system up before you had a camera plugged in, it's probably going to beep. So if you hear the control box beeping, it's because you don't have a camera plugged in. All right, so get that set and then go ahead and then pull the covers off. I'm also going to wipe down my windshield so I don't have any residue or any problems on there, so this sticks down really nicely. Okay, I'll show this what it looks like when it's done. All right, all installed, looks really good. I think from the driver's side, it's not going to be visible. And if need be, if I need to adjust the camera angle, all I do is I'd come back with the Allen wrench, loosen up this bolt right here, turn the camera just a little bit to adjust it to exactly where I want to be, and it's done. Let's go back and do the same thing on the rear camera. All right, so here with the back camera, you're just going to do the same thing. Take out the little screw with the Allen wrench, plug in the camera, hang it up in your preferred location, and pull off the film off the camera, and you're good to go. All right, so let's start putting everything back together. As you can see, those white posts are still stuck down into the metal. Just take a pair of pliers and pull them out, slot them back into the bottom of that trim piece. Put this end of the trim piece in first, and then just smack it down into place with your hand. Get that good to go. Then we're gonna go put the trunk back together. With the rear carpet, remember, you just kind of fit that end in and then swing it back into place. It's gonna go over this post right here. It slots all back in really, really nicely. Make sure to put your expanding rivets back in there, and there. Put your luggage loop back up there with the T40. Get it all, your carpet all back into a nice place and set. Once that's done, put this piece back on. It just fits down over the top of these pieces and these loops, and put in those expanding rivets, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so all back together, looks really, really good. Make sure that all of your expanding rivets line up and your carpet is in secure. Also, don't forget to pull your weather stripping. Your weather stripping should be over the top of the carpet and over the top of this black plastic. If it's strapped underneath, this isn't gonna sit right. And you'll be able to tell, but just make sure that you don't miss that. So make sure all your weather stripping is good, your carpet is down, everything is secure. I'm gonna put the backboard back in, and at this point, we're all done. All right, guys, all done with the exception of one really important part, and that's actually walking through and getting the cameras configured and set up on your phone along with your Blackvue profile. Now, Blackvue has an excellent tutorial that will walk you through that entire process of how to get connected, and there's a QR code for the apps on the box next to that your cameras came in. So go ahead and walk through that whole process, or you can get the app from the App Store in either iPhone or Android, and it will walk you through setting up your profile, getting connected to the cameras, and getting them configured. Once that's set, I really like to use the live view because that way I can look at the front and rear and adjust the camera angles to exactly right. My rear was pointed almost way too far down. So looking at the back deck of my car. Okay, so use that to make those final adjustments, and then come back with that little Allen wrench and tighten down that little screw to make sure they hold in place. If need be, you can always change them later and get them set up. Now, I'm really excited to have these in my car, not only for all the technology and features of having a top shelf dash cam in my car for while driving, both front and rear, but in addition, with the battery pack installed, I now have a video security system in my car while I'm parked and I'm away from my car. That's absolutely fantastic, and I love this remote install. It takes a little bit extra work for me to route everything back to the trunk, but even if somebody broke in, even if somebody saw the camera and stole it or smashed it, that's not where the video is stored. So it gives me a good sense of peace in it all, and I love having this in my car. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to Blackvue for making such a fantastic product, and I'm really excited to get to know this system now that it's installed and really work with it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please make sure to click like and subscribe. It makes a genuine difference to my channel, and I would truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on my next video.